Chosen one, you were different long before you understood why. While others tried to fit in, you always felt out of place. Not because you were weak, but because your mind worked deeper, your heart felt heavier, and your soul asked questions most people avoid. From a young age, you noticed life treated you differently. Responsibilities came early, pain came without warning, and understanding came too late. You didn't get the luxury of staying naive. People around you laughed, doubted, ignored, and misunderstood you. Some called you strange, some called you too quiet, some thought you were lost. But the truth is, you were never lost, you were being shaped. Chosen ones are never raised in comfort. They are raised in pressure. You often felt alone even in a room full of people. You smiled, but something inside stayed silent. You listened more than you spoke, you observed more than you reacted. That loneliness wasn't emptiness, it was awareness. God separates those who are meant to see clearly. You went through betrayals that changed how you trust, losses that changed how you love, failures that changed how you move. Others broke and stayed broken. You broke and rebuilt yourself, quietly, no applause, no support, just inner strength forming layer by layer. Life hit you harder than it hit others, not because you were unlucky, but because shallow souls can't handle deep destinies. Pressure reveals purpose. Every setback was removing something weak from you, every delay was building patience, every disappointment was killing illusions. At some point, you stopped explaining yourself, you stopped chasing approval, you stopped needing validation, not because you stopped caring, but because you started understanding. Silence became your protection, distance became your peace, discipline became your power. People slowly started disappearing from your life. Not everyone can follow you where you're going. Some exits were painful, some were confusing, but all were necessary. When your energy rises, misaligned people fall away. You began to change internally, your mindset shifted, your standards rose, your tolerance for nonsense dropped. You stopped wanting attention, and started wanting growth. You stopped surviving, and started preparing to become something more. There were moments you almost quit, moments you questioned everything. Moments you felt tired beyond words, yet you're still here, not by chance, not by luck, because something inside you knows, your story is not finished yet. Separation was not rejection, isolation was not punishment, it was preparation. There comes a phase in the life of a chosen one where confusion turns into clarity, not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly. Painfully. Truthfully, you begin to notice patterns, the same lessons repeating, the same type of people testing you, the same situations forcing you to grow. Nothing feels random anymore. You realize that everything you went through had a purpose. The rejection, the loneliness, the silent battles no one knew about, they were not meant to destroy you. They were meant to wake you up, and once awareness hits, life never feels the same again. You start seeing people differently, not as enemies or friends, but as reflections and teachers. Some came to show you what love looks like, some came to show you what manipulation feels like, some came to teach you boundaries the hard way, and some came only to leave. At this stage, your tolerance drops sharply. You no longer entertain fake conversations, you no longer chase people who don't choose you, you no longer explain your pain to those who don't listen. Your energy becomes selective, not because you're arrogant, but because you're tired of bleeding for free. This is when people start saying, "You've changed." And they're right. You're not the same person who accepted disrespect, you're not the same person who begged for understanding, you're not the same person who sacrificed peace for attachment. You evolved. Chosen ones don't evolve loudly, they evolve internally. Your silence becomes deeper, your presence becomes heavier, your absence becomes noticeable. You stop reacting, you start observing. You learn that reacting gives others control, and observation gives you power. You also begin to feel detached, not numb, not cold, just detached. You still feel emotions, but they no longer control you. You can love without losing yourself. You can walk away without hatred, you can forgive without reopening doors. That's maturity forged through pain. At this point, life tests you again, not with chaos, but with temptation. Old patterns try to return, old people resurface, old habits whisper comfort. But you can see clearly now. You know what drains you, you know what delays you, you know what lowers your frequency, so you choose differently. Discipline becomes your new language. you wake up differently, you think differently, you move differently, you don't need motivation anymore, you have direction, you don't need validation, you have self-respect, you don't need noise, you value peace. This phase is lonely, not because no one wants you, but because not everyone can access you. Your standards intimidate, your growth triggers, your silence confuses. People who once felt comfortable around you now feel exposed, because growth makes insecurity uncomfortable. You also start noticing something else. When you stop chasing, things start aligning, opportunities appear, clarity increases. Inner peace replaces anxiety. It's not magic, it's alignment. When you stop forcing what doesn't fit, what's meant for you finds you naturally. Chosen ones don't rush success, they build foundations. They understand that shortcuts create weak outcomes. They understand that slow growth creates permanence. While others rush for attention, you prepare for impact. While others chase trends, you build identity. This is also where your faith deepens. Not surface-level belief, but trust. You trust timing even when it's uncomfortable. You trust delays even when they hurt. You trust isolation even when it feels heavy, because you've seen enough to know, everything unfolds when you're ready to handle it. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this shaping me into? That question changes everything. Pain stops being punishment, and becomes training. Your past no longer haunts you, it informs you. You don't hide from it, you don't glorify it, you use it. Your wounds become wisdom, your scars become boundaries, your story becomes strength. You also learn the power of restraint. You don't respond to every disrespect. You don't explain every silence. You don't react to every misunderstanding. You let action speak. You let distance teach. You let time reveal truth, because time always exposes intentions. This stage feels like standing between two worlds. You no longer belong to who you were, but you're not fully who you're becoming yet. It's uncomfortable, it's quiet. It's uncertain, but it's necessary. Transformation doesn't happen in comfort. Many chosen ones quit here. They miss familiarity. They miss old versions of themselves. They miss people who felt safe but limited them. But you didn't quit. You stayed, even when it hurt, even when it was confusing, even when no one clapped. That strength most people will never understand. You start trusting your intuition more than opinions. You feel energy shifts. You sense when something is off. You know when to walk away without explanation. Your intuition was sharpened by betrayal. It's not paranoia, it's experience. At this level, you don't need to announce growth. It shows in how you respond, in how you choose, in how you protect your peace. You become calm under pressure, focused under chaos, grounded under uncertainty. The world may not notice yet, but something bigger is happening. You are becoming aligned with your purpose. And when alignment happens, nothing can stop what's coming. This is not the end. This is the preparation phase before elevation, and elevation always requires separation first. There comes a moment when a chosen one stops questioning their path, not because everything makes sense, but because they finally trust who they are becoming. You no longer need signs every day. You no longer need reassurance from people. You no longer need proof to believe. Something inside you has settled. You begin to move with quiet confidence, not loud, not arrogant, just grounded. You don't rush conversations, you don't chase outcomes, you don't force connections. You understand now, what's meant for you does not require panic. At this stage, your energy shifts again. People feel it before they understand it. Some are drawn to you, some feel uncomfortable around you, some suddenly respect you without knowing why. That's because you're no longer seeking approval. You're operating from alignment. Chosen ones reach a point where survival mode ends. You're no longer just trying to make it through the day. You're no longer just reacting to life. You start creating. You design your routines with intention. You choose your environment carefully. You protect your focus fiercely. Because you know distraction is the enemy of destiny. Your mindset becomes your greatest weapon. You don't entertain limiting thoughts anymore. You question fear instead of obeying it. You replace doubt with discipline. You understand something most people never realize. Consistency beats motivation, identity beats effort, vision beats comfort. You also stop competing, not because you're afraid, but because you're clear. You're not here to outrun others. You're here to fulfill your assignment. Someone else's success no longer threatens you. Someone else's pace no longer pressures you. You move at the speed of purpose. This is when life starts responding differently. Doors don't open easily, but when they do, they're solid. Opportunities don't come loudly, but when they come, they're aligned. You don't get everything you want, but you get what moves you forward. That's elevation. You also learn to master solitude, not isolation, but intentional alone time. You use silence to think, you use stillness to plan, you use distance to recharge. You don't fear being alone anymore, you fear losing your direction. At this point, your past feels distant, not forgotten, but integrated. You don't relive old pain emotionally, you remember it intellectually. It no longer controls your reactions, it no longer defines your limits. You've healed enough to move forward without dragging wounds behind you. You begin to understand responsibility, not blame, responsibility. You take ownership of your thoughts, you take ownership of your habits, you take ownership of your future. You stop waiting for rescue. You realize, you are the one you've been waiting for. This realization changes how you move. You stop complaining about circumstances, you stop blaming timing, you stop asking for permission, you start executing, even when conditions aren't perfect, even when confidence isn't complete, even when fear is present. You move anyway. Fear doesn't disappear at this level, it just loses control. You feel fear, but you don't obey it. You feel uncertainty, but you don't stop. You feel pressure, but you don't collapse, because you've been through worse. Chosen ones don't need easy lives, they need meaningful ones, and meaning always requires challenge. You also notice your standards are non-negotiable now. You don't negotiate your peace, you don't bargain your values, you don't lower your boundaries for convenience. If something costs your self-respect, it's too expensive. This is where people misinterpret you. They call you distant, they call you cold, they call you hard to reach. But they don't see the discipline behind your calm, they don't see the battles you fought to become stable, they only see the result, not the process. You stop explaining yourself, not because you're hiding, but because clarity doesn't need justification. Those meant to understand you will, those who don't were never meant to stay. You also learn patience at a deeper level, not passive waiting, but active preparation. You prepare your skills, you sharpen your mind, you strengthen your habits, so when opportunity arrives, you're ready to hold it. Chosen ones don't fear pressure. Pressure reveals who they've become, and when pressure hits now, you don't break, you adapt, you adjust, you refine. You rise, you begin thinking long term, not days, not weeks, years. You build for stability, not applause. You aim for impact, not attention. You understand that real power grows quietly. This is the phase where alignment turns into momentum. Small wins stack, confidence compounds, clarity sharpens. You don't see miracles, you see progress, and progress is more dangerous than luck. You also realize something important: not everyone deserves access to your future. Some people were only meant to know the old you, and that's okay. Growth requires selective connection. Your intuition is now your compass. You don't overthink decisions. You feel them. You know when to say no. You know when to walk away. You know when to commit fully. Because you're finally listening inward. This doesn't mean life becomes easy, but it becomes intentional. You don't suffer aimlessly anymore. You struggle with purpose. Every challenge sharpens you. Every setback redirects you. Every delay strengthens you. You are no longer asking life to be fair. You're asking yourself to be prepared. That mindset alone separates you from the majority. At this level, you don't need recognition. You need alignment. You don't need applause. You need progress. And you don't need permission. You need consistency. You may still feel tired sometimes. That's human. But you're no longer lost. And that changes everything. Chosen one, this is the phase where your story shifts from survival to legacy. You are not here to just exist. You are here to build something that lasts. And step by step, silently, steadily, you are doing exactly that.